Live. Okay, Jim, take it away.
Good afternoon. Detroit in black and white from Trenton, Michigan at Ramsey's Family Restaurant in downtown Trenton. Today we have a couple interesting guests, one I've known a year or two, a little longer, I would say. We have Jim Wagner sitting here to my immediate right. He's currently a member of the Wayne County Community College Board of Trustees, former city administrator for the city of Trenton, and former mayor for the city of Wyandotte. He has an extensive, we have to stop there because we have more. He's chairman of the Downriver Community Conference Brownfield.
That's correct, Jim.
And with Jim today is Jasmine Dancy. She is also she's with the Downriver Community Conference. She is a consultant with Downriver Community Conference. She's working on a coal-fired plant grant and a host of other things downriver. Jim.
Yeah, Jazz came to the DCC. I think she's the Director of Economic Development. She works with Tim Keys and Daryl Folks, who is a commissioner in River Rouge, and John Diodano from our Brownfield. And they've been working on a coal-fired grant of the retirement of the River Rouge and the Trenton DTE plants. And she has a lot on her table. And I think a lot of people of your listeners will be interested. I know you get a lot of people from eCourse from River Rouge, and this is one of our primary goals, priority, plus the other three communities along the waterfront. And I think Jazz can give you a little bit about what she's doing and attempting to do for those communities and for the Downriver Community Conference and Southeast Wayne County. Jazz?
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, Jim and Jim, for the intros. But yeah, so I'm with the Downriver Community Conference, and we are a group of the 20 cities from River Rouge down to Rockwood, from the river to Romulus. So it's 20 cities that got together, started working together in 1967. Actually, the oldest interlocal agreement in the state of Michigan originally got together for shared public safety services to be more efficient and save some of the city's money. So we still managed Downriver Mutual Aid now. So that was our original program that got us started. And then over the years, we've added a lot of other offerings for our member communities and local residents, which include workforce development. We're a Michigan Works provider. That's probably our biggest department. And then we also have partnerships with Wayne Metro to do weatherization, some transportation services. And then in 97, we started our Brownfield Consortium. So that is, like you said, Jim Wagner is our chairman. And that's probably one of the most successful brownfield boards in the country. We've received almost $200 million over the years from the EPA. So it's been very, very successful and done a lot of redevelopment downriver. But also, as Jim mentioned with the coal-fired power plants, so the Downriver Community Conference received notice that those plants were going to close probably back in 2016 or so. Jim, does that sound about right as far as the timeline?
Late 16, early 17. You're right, Jess.
So when they received that notice, they realized that, hey, let's try and get ready for this big transition that's going to be coming both in River Rouge and in Trenton. But we know, the employees that come from everywhere and the tax base that's involved, it's going to make a bigger impact to the communities. So the DCC did one round of strategic planning and got some feedback actually that the communities wanted to be more involved in the process and wanted to have a bigger voice. And then we also went through a little thing in 2020 with the pandemic, which obviously changed a lot of things here around the world, but downriver as well. And so we were able to, with some help from our friends at DTE, go through another strategic planning process when we brought in partners from the University of Michigan Economic Growth Institute. So they have a whole process involved in order to get the communities more engaged, more involved on a regular basis, hold people accountable, and really have open dialogue and info sharing. So that was a really great process to go to. And it's We've established a strategy team, which includes representatives from all 5 riverfront communities, as well as our, county partners at the regional, SEMCOG, and at the state level, other elected officials. So it's a comprehensive team. Like I think, around 30 or so people that we now meet at least twice a year, our full team. But we've got 5 different priorities, objectives, and projects that are proposed by the community that are important to them.
Jasmine, can I, sorry to
Please do.
interrupt, but can you tell us a little bit about, when we're talking about brownfields, tell us the history of brownfields, what they're about, and how you're working to develop them, and the dangers of brownfields to our environment.
So the term brownfield, I mean, you can call it in an impacted site, is really, brownfields, like you say, they do have kind of a negative connotation, but the purpose of our brownfield board is to take those sites that have been historically had environmentally intensive uses and get them back into productive redevelopment.
Such as what are some of the contaminants or uses that
Jim,
created
I
a
mean, we've had
brownfield?
chemical manufacturers, steel mills. I mean, what else, Jim? I mean,
We've had the McLeod Steel. We've had a lot of projects in Romulus. It may be a gas station in Allen Park.
yeah, gas stations, underground tanks, that kind of stuff.
Maybe McKinley School in Wyandotte that we're helping them with environmentally. Maybe a city's city hall, or basically anything that has environmental impact from residential to retail, to commercial to industrial.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up here with using McLeod Steel as an example? How that transition went from the old McLeod Steel to where we are today?
Well, Jazz, you want me to talk a little bit?
Go ahead. Yeah, you were involved in that.
Well, actually, what happened there was it was a very complex site, because the previous owners acquired the property in foreclosure, actually in bankruptcy, and their goal was to really restart the steel mill. They did not restart the steel mill for for a year or so, and then they went for like 6 months and they went out of business. And so it was property that was being unused, and essentially because they didn't have a viable business there, they had no income coming in, so they couldn't pay their taxes, their land taxes to the county and to the city and to the county and to the school district of Riverview. That we took it over in foreclosure. It went to the state first. They passed on it. They were not interested because there was a lien in addition to the environmental issues and the tax issues. And it was funny. It was held by Donald Trump, one of the companies, Sapphire Investments, out of New York. And so a lot of people stayed away from it. And so it went to the state. Then it came to the city. And the city, we were looking at exploring about taking it ourselves. And the council decided not to. And it went to the county. And the county took it to the land bank. And the land bank was able to take bids on it, and there were 4 bidders on it. And the best bidder, who's been very good, was the Crown Group out of Warren, Michigan. And we'll rephrase that by saying the Maroon family. And they actually have cleaned it up, spent $20 to $35 million cleaning up and taking all those sites down. And so now it's developable, because part of their agreement was a prospective purchaser agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Justice that said they had to clean up these contaminants that were on the site. So they cleaned up 5 contaminants, and now the property can be developed because it's down to industrial standards. It can be developed to a certain point. I mean, if you uncover some more environmental issues, of course, we have to address it, but it can be developed right now. And it actually has made the Detroit Regional Partnership list of 50 industrial properties that they're promoting in the 11 counties areas of the Detroit Regional Partnership.
So this is over a 30-year process.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say, how safe are these even after they clean them up? Are there ever any discoveries that they're not as safe as we thought, or are they pretty safe once they're cleaned up?
It depends what use they are, Alan, and what they want to do there. Perfect example. there is an agreement, an additional agreement that the Crown Group is called, they did it under LLC, MSC Services, whatever it is. Their goal was to develop it for four things, industrial, basically based. And so they can proceed long as they don't uncover another environmental issue. Let's say they're putting up a 100 or 10,000 square foot building or 100,000 or 100 square building. If they dig for foundations or footings in there and they uncover some environmental issue that's, an issue, then they have to remediate it before they can proceed and finish the job. So I would say in industrial sites in this area and in any place in Michigan, there's always the chance and good chance of uncovering some additional environmental issues.
So tell the
Yeah,
people a little bit how big the site
what-
is. I'm sorry, go ahead, Al.
Going
I
on.
was going to say, when you talk about some of the more successful brownfield developments, what comes to mind?
For us,
Yeah, for you.
we probably have, we cover actually Washington County, we cover Tecumseh, we cover Monroe. Probably the best one that started this brownfield off, and Jazz, I think you'll agree with me, is probably the Port Authority, the turbine company down
Ben
in Monroe.
Tower. Mhm.
Thank you.
Ben
Ben
Tower
Tower.
Monroe was, I was going to
Yeah.
mention that one, but also, I mean, you can look at the International Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah,
That
International
was
Wildlife.
that's one of our crown jewels downriver and a very successful brownfield.
And tell us
redevelopment.
about that. Tell us about that a little bit.
Jazz, you want to
Go ahead, Jim.
jump? You want? Go ahead. Tell me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that project. You say it's
About
crown
the site
jewel.
and John
what-
Dingle's involvement, if you would.
Yeah. Well, if you want to start with the history, Jim.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
I'll go back to the history. It was a
Yeah.
Chrysler Chemical plant, paint plant. And when Chrysler Chemical got out of the paint business, it was the lower part of Trenton along the Detroit River. There was a dream by then Congressman, God rest his soul, John Dingell, to make this because of all the hunting in the Point Moulet area adjacent to this. To make it a wildlife reserve. And he started that task and adventure probably, I'm going to say easily 25 years ago, because I think what the first project was in 1997 was the International Wildlife. And it took maybe 23 years, because it was 2 years ago that it was finally dedicated, but through monies from the state of Michigan, Detroit Edison Company, the county owns part of the property as recreational property. I think they use their recreational millage for part of that. And it was a conglomeration of a lot of nonprofits and businesses that put it together to be able to open it up and to visitors. And actually, I believe they're getting about 200,000 visitors annually at the site. And I anticipate it to be expanded. And it's a great thing for downtown Trenton and the downriver area. So, yeah.
And then one other one that I wanted to mention is the Bank Tower in Southgate.
Where are you at?
Yes.
The tallest buildings downriver, and had been vacant for at
Come
least
on.
a decade or so, at least
You're
a
right.
couple decades, I think. And so now
It was
in
Old Security Bank building. Yeah.
Yep. So our Brownfield board put in $1 million. It's a total of $48 million investment. And it's going to be, a bunch of new apartments and condos and a really cool partnership too, to create some recreation and parks on site as well.
Was the site
You know what
in
we're going
the
to take?
past?
We're going to take a little break here. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
fellas, I'm new in town, and I've been here a couple times. I absolutely love your place, man. But I've got to ask you, if you can, I've heard that you're going to be shutting this place down.
I'm not proud of it, brother, but we're behind our property taxes. And the county is all over us, man. I'm even afraid to even give them a call.
Well, we can't let it go, brother. I mean, we can't give up. There's got to be a GoFundMe campaign that we can run, even past the plate. Is there a forgiveness program or something that's out there?
Well, unfortunately, that's only for the big guys.
No, actually, Wayne County has payment plans for everyone.
Are you for real?
Yes, it's a well-designed program. We want to help you save your business.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. If you have delinquent taxes on your home or business, contact our office, 313-224-5990, or visit our website, treasurer.waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Got it.
All right, I like that, Eric Sabri.
Okay, yeah.
We unfortunately missed it. Enoch Mongo is now joined the show. Alan Langle, and I'm Jim Nardoni here at Detroit in Black and White. Go ahead, Alan.
All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about brownfield investments, and so how do people go about getting one of these? How difficult is it to get some brownfield credits and grants and all that?
Jazz, you want me to address that?
Sure.
Okay, and then I want you to make sure before you go, though, to address the small business thing that we have going.
Yeah,
okay?
definitely.
Easily, our 20 communities, of which the DCC is the primary standard for that, participate. In addition to that, we have Washtenaw County, that's part of it. We have the City of Monroe, the Port Authority of Monroe, and Tecumseh. So we have 20 members and 24 members. And I will tell you, on any given month, we probably have 16 to 17 members that participate in our monthly meetings, which go through the month of June, and we're off in July and August. We come back in September. It's because they realize that there's a goal in their community. If there's a business, and I'll give you an example here in Trenton. If they go to the bank for a loan or an SBA loan, they're going to demand that they have some type of environmental assessment or a BEA. And so rather than them pay for it, all of it, they can come to their economic development team in the community they live in, and they will broach the DCC Brownfield for some support for a BEA, basic environmental assessment, which is just getting the material, or a phase one where they actually take some testing. And when they do that, they find out what they're going to get a loan because it's required or remediated, or they have a problem with Eagle. And basically, we try to assist them because not only assessment money, but we have some investment money, as Jazz just brought up, on that we put into the Old Security Bank, which is the largest, highest facility in the downriver area and been vacant for 10 years. We put $1 million into them to support them, and a loan thing. So we can get a loan or a grant and they apply. And so it really helps them. And then we assist them getting a brownfield through their community or with another entity that they're brownfield with. Not all communities have brownfields.
And I think that if you came downriver, Alan, when you get downriver, you can see some of these sites. The old McLeod Steel site, it was massive. How many acres, Jim?
It's 275 acres, of which 199 are a Superfund site. And even though it's a Superfund site, the site can be redeveloped as we speak.
And the International Wildlife Refuge.
Yes.
It's just become a jewel down here.
Well, Alan's not coming down. Alan's not coming down, River. He's
not after I hear
Alan,
about all these brownfields. Well, tell me, how many brownfields are there in downriver that you have identified?
2.
So through our process we're going through with this grant, we've identified some zones. I mean, brownfields can be small, they can be large. You can even just being in the land bank, a property in the land bank qualifies as a brownfield. So it's not always just environmental issues. There's some other qualifiers, but really we see it as a great, as a really positive tool to redevelop sites. So, our process has been really positive. So But as far as the number of sites, I mean, I don't think there's any listing of all of the sites that, you know, in the area. But what we've done through our process is focused on the Jefferson Ave corridor between Jefferson Ave and the riverfront. And so we have 4 key zones actually identified that we're working with on this, our most recent EDA grant to develop so kind of like draft site plans and see what it would take to actually have that development happen as far as a capital stack and getting the community in support of it as well as the property owner.
Can there be economic brownfields where they're just in economic areas that are just not being developed, or does it have to have some connection with the environmental?
There's some other qualifiers. I think the state of Michigan uses the term blighted. So it can, you know, if it's been vacant there sitting for a while, there's certain other qualifiers as well as, like I said, if it's a land bank property, then it can qualify as well. Even now, any development associated with housing, that's a brand new law that the law changed last fall. Now, any kind of housing development, even if it's mixed use with commercial, can qualify for brownfield funds. Granted, all of Jim said, any brownfield development that is, you know, going to receive either a TIF plan or any of these funds has to be approved by the local municipality. So it's not just freely given, it has to be approved through the local process.
Yeah, and Alan, I'll make a comment that a brownfield is capturing of tax dollars usually, okay?
Yeah.
Incentives. And it's capturing over a period of time. So if they make a $10 million investment, they may get 4, 5, they may get a portion of that back. And that's where they negotiate with the community and the brownfield for what the return is to them, to make it interesting for them and make it doable and financially viable for them to do the project, to have a new business or whatever it may be, take the place of the brownfield, not just sitting there. And I asked, because Jazz has to go in a couple of minutes, if we can let Jazz quickly tell us about the EDA grant where we got money for the small businesses from River Rouge to Trenton. Is that possible, Alan? Jim?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Well, as part of that EDA grant, part of it, we're doing the brownfield strategy across the whole corridor. We also established a regional economic development office, and that's my role. A lot of these smaller cities don't have their own economic development director, so we're trying to work together and kind of cooperate on those efforts. But then, as Jim is mentioning, we also developed our a small business technical assistance program. And so we had $150,000. We were able to give out 15 grants to local businesses in the whole corridor for technical assistance for getting things like a new website or learning how to sell things online, marketing pictures, videos, that kind of thing. And, you know, $150,000 when you think of in terms of the federal government is, you know, pennies to them, but the impact that it made here downriver is really, really awesome to see. And it's something that we're hoping we have some other requests going right now to hopefully be able to do another round of those if we're able to get funds.
And does Wayne County or City of Detroit have a separate brownfield committee or?
Yes, Alan. Yes, they have their own
separate.
brownfield. Yes,
Both do. City of Detroit and Wayne County both do.
And how much of the money that comes, how much is from federal and how much is state money?
I don't.
For
understand.
what?
Yeah, we don't
of the funding that comes. It's how. What
Brownfield
is there
funding or our grant?
Yeah, brownfield funding for how much is where does that money come from?
Well,
EPA.
It's all EPA.
Yeah. Well, the cleanup money, the original money for that is coming from the EPA. But if there's some environmental issues in there, like vapor barrier or whatever it may be, contaminant like an old gas station, there's money available for remediation from them, but it's a limited fund. Okay. I think it was less than 20 million 2 years ago, and one entity, and it could have been one of the either the Big Rapids or the Marshall people applied for that to take it in one fall swoop. Okay.
How worried do we have to be when there is remediation of these sites that they might not contaminate water systems or things like that.
Well,
Is it
actually,
always
the brownfield is a good thing because it brings that to light if there's an issue, and hopefully then Eagle and the state and the county that it's located in take some action to remediate that and make it safe.
Jim makes a good point, is that a lot of times if there's a vacant or abandoned property that maybe is contaminated, if no one's interested in developing it, it's just going to sit there, whether the environmental issues are being addressed or not. And most of the time they're not being addressed. So if
Right.
someone wants to redevelop it, that's when you have the opportunity to have cleanup. Otherwise, it's just, out there not being addressed. So it actually gives us a chance to make things better.
Adolph, do you have anything for Jasmine? Alan, if not,
no.
we're gonna let Jasmine go on.
All
I guess
right.
she has a youngster over there, Jasmine.
I do. Yep. I've got my daughter 3.5, and I'm very thankful to the DCC that they let me work a hybrid schedule where I'm able to be mom and also do good things for the region. So
Okay.
thank you
so
guys
much
for
for
the
coming out.
opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to meet you all.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Likewise. Thank you. All right. So, okay, we've got 5 more minutes.
So that's a good lead in talking about the International Wildlife Refuge with the building is named after John Dingell. Is that correct, Jim?
Yes.
And we're hearing rumors, or I'm hearing rumors down here, downriver, that perhaps Deborah Dingell, as John called her, Deborah Dingell is considering this maybe her last term. Has anybody heard anything interesting there?
I have not. I mean, I would be a loss to the area because truly her heart and the Dingell family has always been in the downriver area. At one time, John resided in Trenton on 4th Street. I find that he's been during his 55 years there or more, he assisted anybody and everybody, and he had the different attitude. And Adolph, you know what I'm talking about. When I go back 40 years ago, when I was the mayor in Wyandotte, we could sit down and resolve issues where today they can't. And I think really the one thing but John's gone. And I think if Debbie were to leave the area not representative, I think we would have a substantial negative impact on the whole area and the potential survival area and growth of this area. She's really involved.
Well,
The staff is involved.
well, I'll go back before that when John Dingell father,
Yep.
the
Well,
senior
okay,
John Dingell, who represented Detroit.
Yeah.
And after Pearl Harbor, during Pearl Harbor, a black cook at Pearl Harbor shot down 3 planes. Dory Miller never touched a gun in his life because at that time the Navy didn't allow black sailors to do anything but cook. And John Dingell's father, John Dingell Sr., went to Franklin Roosevelt, him and another senator, a congressman from New York, and asked the president, said, you should give him the Medal of Honor. They only gave him the Navy Cross. And Roosevelt said, oh, well, let me talk to his senators from his state. Well, Dory Miller was from Texas. And you know what those senators from his state said?
Huh.
They said, no, don't give him anything. And that shows you how progressive the old man was. Conyers, John Conyers, the late Congressman John Conyers, his first job was with John Conyers, with John Dingell. So Dingell, he was an icon in the district. He represented Detroit. His father represented Detroit. They represented downriver. They was there forever. I guess this is the end of an era. When you hear rumors, where there's smoke, there's fire. And, listen, people get tired. She's been in this situation a long time, whether being married to someone that's been a congressperson, or being in Congress itself. And they're burnt out now. You're seeing a lot of incumbents leaving. They're tired. Yeah, they tired of the name calling. It's like a schoolyard fight. They calling each other names, making fun of how they look. Who wants to be in that situation?
Yeah, the civility is no longer there. That's what I was referring to when I said 40 years ago. One other thing we got to talk about John Dingell Sr. He was also there when FDR signed in the Social Security Act. He was one of the key leaders of that, of getting that passed. 37, 38?
Well, if he leaves, is there another Dingell? What about the son, Chris?
I think Chris is happy of being a judge in the circuit
Chris.
court. I really don't think that Debbie, and I refer to her as D2, so I apologize, professionally, Congresswoman Dingell, I think she has that fire in her belly still, and I'm hopeful that the rumors are wrong that you hear, Jim, but she'll be tough to replace.
Well, Jim Wagner, who you think anybody that's downriver, that's in that area would be a good congressperson? Not that they saying they're gonna run, but who would you think? Who would you pick if you had to pick somebody?
Adolph, that would be difficult for me because the district includes Ann Arbor and that 275 corridor there. If it was downriver, there probably is a state senator that would look forward to that position.
Who is that?
Area, Darren Camilleri.
Okay.
But again, I can't say that. I won't speak for him. But I mean, he's probably as aggressive as she is in serving the public. Let me say, they're two great public servants, and I go by people as being public servants or politicians. They're public servants, okay? And I can't speak highly of them. I don't agree with them all the time, but they listen to me, and I respect both of them very, very, very much for their positions, which is entirely more informative than the position that I may have.
And I think that's an important point. Congresswoman Dingell is family downriver, and John Dingell was family downriver. We don't always agree with each other, but she would go out of her way to help anybody, whether a Democrat or Republican. She's always been that way. So, and I think she learned some of that, obviously, from the late, great John Dingell.
But isn't that day gone, Jim? Isn't that day gone where, Republicans and Democrats used to work together, and now you got folks, we going back to the days before the Civil War when they was beating up each other and at the Capitol with canes and all kind of other stuff. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Congressman Crockett out of Tennessee. They sound like somebody that I went to junior high school with, making fun of how they look. And it's just ridiculous.
Civility is not there, and the will to work with each other. I think it's more working. I think if you step across the line and want to work, if you're a Democrat and want to work with a Republican, the party gets mad. And if you're a Republican and want to work with a Democrat, that party gets mad. Our olden days where we could sit down and say, have a cup of coffee, I'll say coffee or a Pepsi Cola, and to resolve what we needed to get things done are gone. And that's the depressing part of what's happening to our country. It depresses me at 79 years of age.
Well, if the rumors is true, you know what? We're gonna miss her voice in Congress, and hopefully we get someone that can reach across both sides of the aisle. It's just unfortunate that we got to this point in this time in America.
So I asked the question of Alan, both you and Adolph, and even Jim, but are these some of the challenges that someone like Congresswoman Dingell would have going forward? Is this one of the reasons that she's looking at this and some of the better people in Congress have said, I've had enough and I'm moving on.
I think she's tired. I would be tired too. Wouldn't you, Alan?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen quite a few Congress members who are either stepping down already or aren't going to run, just because there's not a lot getting done in Congress, and it's really just
And it has
it's
There we go, Alan.
Okay, losing the person that she has the knowledge and now is gaining the seniority would be very detrimental to the district that she currently serves. And to me personally, I would feel really hurt because I'm not sure that a new person is going to be as tactful and as impactful as she is.
We lost your comments, Alan. If you would go ahead and give that to us again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. I was saying that I think there already are people who have left Congress early, and there are others who are just not going to run again. And I think it's just not worth their time. I mean, it's like when I taught at University of Maryland after I left the Washington Post. When I saw, half the students are looking at their phones and their computers, after a while, I'm like, this isn't worth my time. And I think when you're going to Congress all the time and you're just arguing and it's pettiness and, we've had the border bill that wouldn't go, wouldn't get voted on. They see stuff and it's frustrating. And I think at some point people feel like they're tired of banging their heads against the wall,
Well, you know what? It's like let's look at the Republicans. They eat, they're young, as I say. Anybody that wanted to reach out and say, you know what, we need to do this in a bipartisan way, and they don't want to do it. Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia, she is unbelievable. That if she would just rather get rid of speaker by speaker. If these folks don't do this, you know what? It was a time where a Congress, they had rules of engagement, as they used to say. Even crooks had rules that they went by.
Right.
These folks have no rules. They don't respect each other. I wouldn't ever run for Congress even if had the opportunity. So who wants to get into that toxic atmosphere?
As Tony Soprano said, I may not have ethics, but I got rules. And
there's no question about it. So yeah,
unfortunately, there's no rules anymore.
Well, I just hope. Well, but you know what? Well, you know what? And Jim Wagner, you said, that district represented Ann Arbor. We had a great Congress woman from that district, Lynn Rivers, who had to run against John Dingell.
Yes.
Yes. And unfortunately, they redistricted her seat into against him. And, maybe, listen, you think she'll come out of retirement and run for that seat again?
I think that there was Ann Arbor, one of the council people that were exploring their options of whether they were going to run or not. But that's a perfect point, because when I got appointed, John Dingell got me appointed by Gina McCarthy to the Region 5 EPA Great Lakes Advisory Board back in 2013. He had to talk to Lynn Rivers to represent the city managers in the 8 states. And I did not know Lynn Rivers, and he took care of that. I'm going to say one other thing about John Dingell. When you brought up John Conyers' name, God rest his soul, but when John Conyers represented some of the communities downriver here, Barack Obama, when he got elected, the Wyandotte Chiefs band was going to march in that inauguration, and they were 4.5 hours away. And I went to Pat Andrews from John Dingell's staff in Ann Arbor, and John Dingell's went to, I think at that time it was Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, okay, but got permission to talk, and he got them 25 minutes in Maryland or someplace, Virginia, a brand new school, and they camped out there, and the people from that district made their meals for them, put them in the shower rooms and all that stuff. And thank you to John Dingell. And the congresswoman that was taking that place that he worked with, it was her first election to Congress. When she got up, she said, "This has got to be a good place because John Dingle came and asked me to help somebody that wasn't even in his district." And John did things like that. That's why the Dingle family is really a tradition, and I can't see it going by its way.
Well, and you know what? And I'm gonna throw this out there. Over in Oakland County, there was a Congress person, Joe Nolenberg, Republican, conservative Republican. But you could call his office. You can be from Detroit. You can be from any outside the district. This guy would get with his office would make sure that you can get your problem solved. We don't have that anymore.
No, we don't. It's very difficult for them. I feel sorry for them and for the time constraints on themselves personally and for what the family goes through when they're elected official. Even if you're in a lower, like even the city or village or township, it's not easy to be elected official today.
There's no
Well,
question.
I think we're at that time.
All right.
Adolph?
Well,
Well, I apologize. I'm gonna tell you, I lost my. And you know what? When you're out of town, and I had to go back and find my telephone. I didn't have my computer with me, so here I am. I said, "Well, listen, Alan was there, and you had the great Jim Wagner." Listen, you had the man. You had the icon downriver. He made things happen, and he's still making stuff happen. So I'm sorry I missed the Brownsfield stuff. And Jim, you're doing great over at Wayne County Community College District.
Thank you, Adolph. I appreciate those kind remarks, and you understand the situation today, and I appreciate that you understand it. I wish there was a heck of a lot more people that understood the political process and the fact that when you get an opportunity to vote, you get off your buns and go and vote.
And thanks to Jasmine Dancy from the consultant with the Downriver Community Conference, who are doing a lot of good things. And Downriver starts the minute, Alan, you step your toe across that little bridge down there into River Rouge. Now you're part of that development. And we want to thank them and our viewers. We have a good number of viewers today that took time out of their Thursday afternoon to tune in today. I want to say thank you to those people. Thank you.
right. One day, Jim, we'll all be
We're
united.
gonna have to kidnap.
We'll all
We're
be
gonna have to
united in
kidnap
Trenton.
Alan. We're gonna have to kidnap Alan and take him down river and stuff. Alan, it's easy to get down river. You can get on 4th Street. You can see the Ambassador Bridge and a new Gordie Howe Bridge, and you can go through Ecorse, River Rouge, Wyandotte, Riverview, Southgate. Listen, I know all the communities there.
I was in Wyandotte about 3 weeks ago on the riverfront, one of the restaurants here with a group of people. So I'm
wasn't that
inching
bad,
my
was
way-
it?
I'm inching my way
Yeah.
toward Trenton.
Well, if you come this way, I'll take you to Sibley's for lunch before you broadcast. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
And well, you know, you can see Johnny, because Johnny, if you go to Sibley's, he gonna have to go to Ramsey's, because you know Johnny not gonna let him.
We come for breakfast here, okay?
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I think we're all set. So thanks, Jim, for being on the show, and thanks everybody.
My pleasure.
So Saturday, so we'll see folks Saturday over at McShane's, Michigan and Trumbull, and another Detroit in black and white. This is great.
All right. Okay.